Welcome to the Merch Minds podcast, where we discuss everything about the Merch by Amazon business and the print-on-demand industry. Here are your hosts, Glen and Yong.
What's up, everybody? Merch Minds podcast. My name is Glen with the YouTube channel Hustler Hacks with Yong here.
Hey, what's up, guys? I don't have a YouTube channel called Hustler Hacks, but I am here anyway.
And his name is Yong.
What's going on, guys? Yeah, this is episode 12, Glenn.
Dang.
Wait, is that? Yeah, I think
This is
it's episode
13.
12. Is it 13? Well, shoot. You know what? This is episode 50. This is our 50th anniversary.
Yeah, this thing is growing. We're on episode number 12. And I don't know, like it just seems like these shows are just going by so quick, like every single week.
Yeah.
I look forward to the show. I look forward to doing the show.
Yeah.
But
no, it's a lot
they're
of fun.
just going by quick.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You know, I message Margaret, Texas Treasure Gals, every now and then, and we talk merch, because I enjoy talking merch. And so, like you said, I really enjoy doing these shows because, again, I like talking about merch and the opportunity because, it's, we've said this 100 times. The opportunity that's been presented to us by Amazon, it's, I'm forever grateful. Now, as we know, there's been a lot of issues, but at the same time, I can't complain. So let's just dive into our numbers like we always do, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Q4 is still holding up strong. A lot of people that I've kind of talked to, at least some people that have emailed me, they have kind of dropped off on their numbers a little bit. But some people, it's kind of weird because some of them have been going strong still. Some of them have declined a little bit. And then some have declined a lot to where it doesn't really kind of make sense. Like some people have gone from 12, 15, 20 shirt sales a day down to 0 to 2.
Jeez.
Which is a huge drastic decrease, which I'm guessing has to do with the sizes available, the colors available.
Yeah, of course.
And of course the purge of still knocking down shirts. Have you looked at how many shirts are live right now?
Yeah. So I currently have 219 shirts. Okay. And for those of you listeners that listen to the show on a regular basis, you guys will know about 3-4 weeks ago, I was maxed out at 500. Yeah. And obviously because of the purge, they've deleted a bunch of my shirts. So I'm down to 219. But obviously with the fourth quarter, my sales have I want to say tripled, maybe even quadrupled at some times. So sales have been good, even though my inventory of shirts are down. And I know I've gave myself a goal of doing $2,000 for the month of May. And I believe I said this last week in last week's episode. As of now, and obviously this cannot change. As of now, I'm on pace to do $3,000 for the month of December because I'm easily doing $100 every day.
Easily,
yeah. It's just, some days are more than others. Some days are less than others, but on average, it's about $100 a day.
And we still got at least 2.5 weeks left? A little bit over 2 weeks?
Yeah, today's the 14th?
14th, yeah.
Yeah, so we have, just a little over 2 weeks left. So, again, I'm really happy with the results, but at the same time, I'm seriously concerned, man. There's a lot of things going on, but we'll discuss that here shortly, man. How is your account doing?
So yeah, I'm still averaging roughly 50 to 60 sales a day, and that's just because Q4 and everything. But throughout the year, I was averaging 25 to 30. So It's doubled up, sometimes a little bit more. Like I talked about on my channel, I think I was like the highest I've ever been per week. The 7 days was close to 700 sales for the week. Right now, I think I'm at 500 more or less. It has dropped a little bit, still staying strong. Roughly a little bit over 3,000 royalties for the last 7 days. And so the cool thing is, now that we're at the 14th, I mean, this is the last 2 weeks. So the first 7 days, I think I was like at $3,500 royalty. This 7 days, roughly around 3,200 royalty. So I'm just going to be pumped when this December payout comes out. But of course, not until January 29th, since I have to do a whole month. So we'll have to take a little while.
Yeah. And let me, before we continue, let me just apologize to everyone. I'm having some serious internet connections today. For some reason, the internet is just going in and out. So at certain times throughout the podcast, it might get a little choppy here and there. And I, again, do apologize. Unfortunately, that's just how technology works. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But no, I mean, that's good. I mean, I think Q4 is working out for most people who are still on merch, and we'll get into that shortly. But yeah, I mean, I would have never expected this. Again, I mean, this is my first Q4 doing merch, and oh my gosh, I mean, ever since Cyber Monday, things just blew up, and I'm expecting obviously the numbers to drop after Christmas, but if it's anything like FBA, it'll still be solid during January, and I think right around February is when the numbers start dropping.
Still got some time.
Yeah, so just mentioning that, to warn people that if you're doing really good numbers, don't expect that to be year round from this point on. I mean, because your numbers will drop. But let's get into man. I mean,
our guest. You want to tell everybody about our guest?
Sure, but let's kind of talk about before we do that, man. Let's talk about what's been going on, man.
Oh man.
Yeah, this is and if you guys don't know, not only is Amazon purging T-shirts, apparently they're purging accounts.
Oh yeah, this is a huge deal. What's going on right now in merch?
Well, I mean, so Amazon is from everything that I've read in the Facebook groups and the forums, Amazon is deleting accounts for people who never took action, and that makes sense. But I'm hearing these horror stories about how people who have accounts who have 2,000 shirts up, their accounts are apparently getting suspended, and the owners of the account, they have no idea why, and it has me on the edge, and I'm sure it does with you as well, because I mean, that can happen to us.
Yeah, exactly. I know some people are just like every time they log in, they have their fingers crossed, like on the other hand, just like, all right, is this gonna continue for another day? Please.
Yeah, and it breaks my heart because, I mean, unfortunately, that's how Amazon works, right? They don't communicate. That's just how it is. We've always said that this is their platform. They make the rules. We can bitch and moan all we want, but at the end of the day, it is their playground. And I don't know if anyone ever read the terms when they first signed up for merch. It does say in black and white that they have the right to terminate and suspend people's account with no communication whatsoever. And I get it, but at the same time, it's so frustrating because, people like you and I, Glenn, who we think we're doing things right. We always, preach people to be honest and be ethical with their business. Don't steal fonts, don't steal designs. Um, so if we're doing things right, but then for some reason our account gets suspended, there's no
Mhm.
communication, and we can't fix what was wrong because we don't know what was wrong. And that's the part that kills me. It's like I wish there was just some communication, some better communication from Amazon to people like us, the content creators, because again, we're the ones um, that's making them a significant amount of money. So you would think that they would treat us better. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating, but at the same time, I do know that there are people out there doing shady stuff. I keep hearing how people are still, they're selling their accounts, and if that's what you're doing, I hope and pray that you guys will get suspended. But for people like you and I, man, it really does suck because, again, like you said, man, I'm on the edge of my seat every day, and it makes me nervous.
I mean, the selling of accounts is like super important because that's really why they're closing those accounts that people haven't taken action. I don't think it's necessarily because, they're kind of slacking and, hey, I'll get to it right now. I think that's partially a part of it. But I think they're really looking at people that are selling accounts because if they see that an account has been open for several months and no action has been taken, they might be thinking, well, maybe this account is for sale. They're waiting for the right buyer and the right price. That, once this person does get it, then okay, now these shirts are being uploaded. But that could be the case, and I think that's one of the main reasons why they're letting go of those accounts that are, not really that active.
Mm.
But that has a huge deal with it. But I mean, I agree. I think the thing is with the communication because exactly, you might feel like you are doing everything right. And I don't know. I mean, later on, something may be trademarked that wasn't previously trademarked or something,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
or maybe you did make a mistake. Okay, you uploaded one design that was trademarked that you didn't know a certain term. You didn't do it purposely, like you didn't go on there and upload Nintendo shirts or Pokemon Go shirts, but you found a certain word or term that happened to be trademarked that maybe you didn't really think it was, and sure enough it was, and then you get kicked off or something like that. I think that's
Yeah.
pushing it because mistakes do happen, but then also how many warnings have you already had? Is
Hmm.
there a limit? Do we know? Is it depending on how many shirts you've uploaded? How many warnings are they going to give you? We just don't know any of this
Yeah, we,
stuff.
we we don't know. I mean, guys, I mean, we don't have the answers. I mean, we're in the same boat as you. I mean, I'm literally, and it's sad for me to say this. I mean, it's kind of funny at the same time, but I'm literally logging into my account like every hour just to see what happens. Just to
Yeah,
see what happens,
exactly.
because I'm just I've worked so hard to get my account to where it is now. Um, I mean, just hours and hours of sitting and just putting in designs. And obviously, Glenn, you having 1,400 designs, you obviously put in more hours, and it would just suck for us to lose our
Mhm.
accounts without any communication whatsoever. But again, guys, we don't have the answers. But yeah, so let's, uh, with all that said and done, let's get into our guest. We're interviewing uh, Justin Peters. He someone that I met up with in Nashville a couple of weeks ago, and smart guy. He has a master's in accounting, and with uh, the tax season coming up, I thought it'd be really cool to talk taxes with him, and just a disclosure, he's just giving general advice. As always, if you ever have specific questions to your particular business, whether it's merch, FBA, eBay, it's always good to hire your own CPA. Glenn, you have your own CPA as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, but I just thought it'd be really, really helpful for him to come on and just give us some general advice. Again, they're not legal advice, just general advice. And again, I have to apologize. There were some moments throughout the podcast where my internet just starts acting up, so you might lose a couple of minutes of his uh, his advice. So yeah, so let's get into it. All right, guys. Well, the end of the year is coming up, and I know a lot of people have questions. A lot of people have tax questions, for that matter. I am not an expert, neither is Glenn. And every now and then we do get questions. People ask me about taxes, and I'm like, you ask me stuff about taxes, you're gonna end up in jail. That's just how it is, okay? Because I am not an expert. But we do have a guest today. He, you know what? I'm going to let him introduce himself. Justin, why don't you introduce yourself and then tell us your background?
Okay. Hi, my name's Justin Peters, and I live in northern Alabama, originally from Michigan. I have a bachelor's in finance, and I have a master's in accounting, which I got last year in May.
Okay, so he has a master's in accounting, and just as a disclaimer, Justin's here to just give us general tax advice. Okay, now if you guys want your own personal tax advice, you have to, as always, you have to go talk to your own CPA, because Justin, tell me if I'm correct, the tax situation is different for everyone, correct?
Yeah, generally the favorite answer for an accountant to give when you ask them a question is it depends.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we always try to do it's a general tax advice. Your individual situation may vary, so people always recommend to talk to your own CPA.
Correct. So yeah. So again, Justin's just here for just to provide general tax advice. Again, guys, again, we don't want emails asking us what you can do. Again, just talk to your own personal CPA. But just real quick, I just want to share this story. I met up with Justin a couple of weeks ago out in Nashville. I was out in Nashville for work. He was generous enough to meet up with me. Great guy. We had a blast just hanging out with the guy and taking in on all the sights and having a few cocktails here and there. It was a blast. So yeah, I mean, Justin, I just wanted to again thank you for taking the time out to meet up and hang out with me.
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, it kind of worked out perfect. You're heading up to Nashville anyways to celebrate a friend's birthday, and I saw you post on one of the Facebook groups you're going to be out there. And I said, this, the stars are aligning here. We need to make this happen.
Yeah, no, we definitely had a blast, and I do want to make my way out there again and try and visit again. So and when I do, I'll definitely I'll let you know in advance. But so Justin, let's just get right into it. One of my first questions, okay? I think a lot of people are misinformed about this. So let's just let's get this straightened out. What are the benefits of an LLC?
Well, an LLC, just kind of give some basic information just in case people don't know what it stands for. An LLC is a limited liability corporation or limited liability company. And in essence, it's a legal entity that you form to, if you're conducting business, you can create it to essentially protect your assets and protect yourself in case you have any kind of lawsuits or anything like that. It protects your personal assets, but the LLC essentially, those things are the only things that can be gone after in court. Or if you get sued, you sell a product and somebody hurts themselves, they can sue your LLC, and those assets can be seized or. So it's just basically just a way of protecting yourself, as long as you are very careful and make sure that you keep your personal assets and personal liabilities and finances separate from your LLC. You don't want to mix the two because then you can lose the protections of having an LLC.
And correct me if I'm wrong, there are no tax breaks with an LLC. I think a lot of people assume when you do file for an LLC that you get some sort of a tax break. But correct me if I'm wrong, there are no particular tax breaks, correct?
Right. From my understanding, there isn't any, tax benefit to being an LLC. It's mostly just to, protect your personal assets, if your family or whatnot, and that way that LLC is by itself. And as long as you keep everything separate and keep your books straight and make sure all that stuff is in order, an LLC is just there to essentially protect, keep you separate.
Glenn, I know you have a bunch of questions too, but let me just ask one more before you jump in, Glenn. So every year I go into my, I go see my personal CPA, and every year he tells me that I should file for an S corp. And I know you and I had this discussion, a brief discussion in Nashville. He's always pushed me to sign up to be an S corp. He said I do with an S corp that I do get significant tax breaks. And if I recall, and correct, and again I could be wrong, I could have swore he said that we are protected from some liabilities through S corp as well. Yes or no?
Well, just a little information about an S corp is that essentially it's a flow through entity. So your income in your business flows through to your income, to your business or whatnot. So there are some tax benefits if you're an LLC, single member S corp. You can get some tax benefits there. And I believe it has to do with the amount of income that you have. That's really going to determine how much of a savings that you'll get. So it kind of helps. It helps with your taxes if you're. It's my understanding if you're a single member LLC S corp that you only get taxed once on your business income. If you're a C corp, that's a different kind of corporation. Then you're open for double taxation, but. This way, it'd only be, it would save you on taxes depending on your income.
Okay. So then, out of those two, which one would you recommend? I know, again, you're not technically here to give out any legal advice, but, just you and I, pretend like it's just you and I. Which one would you suggest?
Right. Well, I mean, it's always a good idea to protect yourself, and especially in business, you're dealing with merch, you're dealing with designs and shirts, and it's always good to have some kind of layer of protection. Because if you're a sole proprietor, then you and your business are one entity. And if I make a shirt that I put Yong's name on it, and Yong sues me, well, you can essentially go after all my assets. But if you have an LLC, that at least protects you. And then setting it up as an S corp, that takes a little bit more work, a little bit more paperwork. But essentially, that's only going to give you an additional tax benefit if you're over a certain amount. So I'd at least do an LLC, do something. If you're just a sole proprietor, just do that at least. Okay. And then if you get to that certain threshold, I'd have to look it up to be sure, but that's a good option too. But I'd at least incorporate it in some way to protect yourself.
Good. Glenn, how about you? Questions?
Well, I went to go talk to my accountant, I think like 2 weeks ago, and I usually just file my taxes once a year. Now that I started making some money on merch.
Some money.
Some money.
Yeah.
This guy, so humble, huh? So humble.
Some money on merch. He was saying I should probably switch to my taxes. I should be paying them every 3 months. Which do you recommend and why? I guess especially making this change. I'm also coming from like FBA, eBay stuff. Now adding in merch. I guess what are the benefits, or what would you recommend in this case?
I guess something we kind of need to clarify for that answer, and that's a good question. As far as filing your taxes, you only file your taxes once a year. But and what your CPA is talking about is paying your quarterly business taxes, and you want to be paying your quarterly business taxes. You'll have like a coupon or a little thing that you have to send in every quarter. And if you haven't been doing business for a full year, you kind of estimate to the best of your ability. Or if you've been doing it for more than a year, I understand that you can kind of base it off last year's and send in a good faith payment. And you want to do that because at the end of the year, if you don't do that, then they can assess additional fees, and they can charge you interest on what you should have been paying in. So you really do want to be sending in quarterly tax payments.
Okay.
And that's just good practice.
Okay, so you recommend doing quarterly. Now, is that something easy to set up with the CPA? Is there a lot of paperwork involved?
No,
Because I think I speak for both Glenn and I. We normally pay just once a year, right, Glenn?
Yeah, that's just once a year.
Yeah, it's not hard to set up, but it's
Okay.
it's good practice to do it, every quarter, and make sure that you're paying in on time. And that way, at the end of the year, you can avoid additional tax or additional fees and interest and penalties and information like that. And your CPA should be able to set that up for you.
Okay. So then, since we're on that particular question, what happens if we overpay at the end of the year?
Well, at the end of the year, you're when you do your taxes, the following year, you'll be able to kind of straighten that out.
Oh, okay.
So, and that's why when you're talking about filing taxes, because you really only file once a year, but you want to do your quarterly payments and be consistent with it too.
Okay. So I got the next question. Okay, and I think I know the answer to this. And I know, again, you and I, we had, we talked a lot when we were in Nashville. So with the merch business, and for the record, all three of us here on the panel, we all do FBA. I think Justin, you do eBay as well, correct?
Just very minimally.
Okay.
I did a little bit.
Okay.
Here
but we all do FBA, and we obviously the model of the FBA business is we buy something physical, right? And then we resell it for a profit. But when we buy something physical, we get a receipt, and then we can write that off, right? The problem with merch is we don't have anything physical, right? All we're doing is creating a design, uploading it onto Amazon's dashboard.
This is all digital, baby.
Right. So with no physical things to write off for taxes, what can we do to get the most tax break? And again, I think I know the answer, but I want to hear it from Justin. What can we do about that?
Sure. So because merch is kind of a, it's a newer platform. It's new to us. It's new to me. I know you guys have been doing it longer than I have. I'm still learning, different things that you can do and can't do. But, it's kind of a reasonable test. What's reasonable? What do you use for your business? So you're creating these different designs. What do you use to do that? I know you guys have talked about using Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop. You guys use those programs?
Correct.
Okay. Now I don't actually own it, but I pay a monthly $20 for Illustrator. And I mean, that's directly used for my business. That's not a personal thing. So it's a digital subscription software. That could be an expense for your business. I know you guys are big proponents of, just buying fonts. Don't go out and steal fonts. It's
correct.
And like you said, you're kind of taking money out of people's pockets. Somebody, spent time doing that. Buying fonts. That's something that you're using for your business. So, there's other things like that we just kind of have to look at it and what's reasonable for your business and what are you spending for it and it has to be for business use. I wouldn't use a certain font for my personal use, but to make a cool design, yeah, that's what I would use it for.
So if I hypothetically bought a desk that I just use to create merch designs, I can write that desk off, correct?
So that's kind of like an office furniture.
Yeah.
Well, that in from my understanding, it kind of depends, because if you buy something for that business, that's the only purpose that it's going to be used for, is that business. So if you bought a computer and you took a 179 deduction, that's a one-time deduction for it, and it's just going to be used for your business, then that would be an expense. So that's just one way of looking at it. But if it's not going to be fully used for your business, then that's probably not the best way to go.
But hypothetically, if I bought the desk just to do merch design, I can write that off, yes?
So you're not going to use it for anything else, huh?
Exactly. Just merch designs.
So do you draw on the desk or make special artwork?
No, man, it's all completely 100% for merch.
Just to hold his computer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hypothetically, if it was just for your business, for business use, and you never use it for anything personal, it seems like it falls within the reasonable test. But that's a hypothetical.
And again, we're just laughing because, as we mentioned earlier, Justin is not here to give us any legal advice. He's just giving us some general advice, and we're obviously poking fun at him. But yeah, I mean, so those are good tips, and this is why Glenn and I are always talking about don't ever steal. Fonts, those are write-offs. Software, those are write-offs. So always,
a couple other good ones that I wanted to kind of suggest.
Yes, please.
So we're talking about you guys have accountants or CPAs you work with. If you're paying your accountants or CPAs, I mean that's an expense. So there's no reason not to have a good one on your side, understands your business and can help you there. And I talked to a friend of mine that is a CPA, and I'm starting to become one, but I haven't got there yet. But I said, what if I find this great designer on the internet that has a website and a podcast and all this, and he can design stuff for me, and I pay him. I said, would that be would that be an expense? And he said, yeah. Well, you're paying someone to create content for you.
So, exactly. Yeah, and my accountant was kind of telling me kind of similar things. Like, computers are generally supposed to be good for like 2 years max, which is kind of hard to believe. But now, when you kind of think about it, memory starts going down. Your computer gets a little bit slower, especially when you're dealing with like a lot of designs. You're cranking out 100 designs a week. Your computer will start slowing down. So my accountant is kind of telling me kind of similar things too. Think about it. Of course, paying the illustrator $20 a month. But he's like, think about the computer, about memory or programs. What else do you need? If you need to get a new computer, I would do that now. So that you can just keep on top of things, especially when it comes to your shirts. Because right now I might be like, okay, well, my computer is good. But next thing you know, maybe 6 months, 8 months down the road, it starts slowing down a little bit more. All these things, you know what? Might as well, get it now, get the programs and start building it up. And he was kind of looking at, I guess, everything as a whole. When I was telling him about everything that I do, he was like, what about YouTube? What about the podcast? What about eBay and Amazon and FBA, and then now merch? Looking at everything, what are the things that you use, for everything? I was kind of thinking about it. Like I bought this mic that I'm using right now. That was technically for this, which we don't make any money from this, but technically part of what we do as far as the business goes. Same thing with YouTube as far as getting like a new camera or investing in that. And so he kind of made me think a little bit more, what are the things that I need that I didn't really buy because I was like, good with what I had, but really a lot of things that do help me. Even on eBay, I bought some new lighting things that, I could take some pictures for shoes and some of the stuff I'm going to be selling. So he was just kind of recommending different things like that. But I totally would invest probably in a new computer though. And Yong just bought one, so.
Well, I had to. You guys, I think most listeners pretty much know now the whole story.
Did something happen a few weeks ago, Yong? Was there a story there?
Oh, did you not hear it, Justin?
Oh yeah, no, I heard it.
Okay, yeah. I had to buy a new laptop, but I mean, is there anything else on that list that you suggest
Um,
possibly, Justin?
Sure. Well, and because you're talking about, your small business or, business expenses, some things we don't really consider that you might be able to use as a, an expense, would be your cell phone.
Hmm.
I mean, how often do you get on your phone and check your sales while you're, doing your daily thing, or, responding to emails, or, there are programs that you can, I have a couple programs on my phone that I can do easy designs on there, and, just simple text-based stuff, but I'm using my phone for my business. So obviously I don't always use my phone for my business, so you can't write off the whole thing.
Of
Um,
course. Yeah.
with stuff like that, it's best kind of to keep track. And do you use your phone, a quarter of the month for your business, or half? As long as it's reasonable and you're not trying to write off your whole family's phone plan, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I mean, basically, what Justin's saying is even though we don't have anything physical inventory, there are things to write off. Justin, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you even mentioned that I can even write off my workspace. Obviously, not the whole house, but like a portion of my workspace if I wanted to, right?
Yeah, there's a home office deduction that you
Mm-hmm.
can make, and there's some nuances to that like I said, talking to your own CPA would help with that. But if you have a designated space that you just do your merch business, or if you just do Amazon or eBay and you don't really use it for anything else, it's just that space, then that's a business, business.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I think the best practice here would be to just really go through, uh, your whole routine of how you create your designs. What do you use? Obviously, your internet, your computer, um, the portion of your house, with a brand new desk, as we mentioned. That was a joke. That was a joke. But so yeah, I mean, that would be a good practice, right, Justin? Just go
Yeah.
through everything and just really write down what we use and what we do for the merch business, correct?
Yeah, I mean, even though you're not producing, a physical, tangible product that you can touch and feel, even though it
Hmm.
does turn into one, right? You can order a shirt. Um, it's even though you're not creating a tangible product, there are still, deductions and expenses related to what you're creating, and it's just best to make a list, and you can do some internet search. There's some good websites out there with some good information, but just think about what all goes into it, and is it reasonable? Don't try to take too much of a deduction. Don't try to, oh, I use half my house for my merch business. Really, you use your kitchen and your garage for your merch business. That might be a stretch.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, Glenn, you got the next question.
So, how are internet sales seen in the tax world? Is it a mess, or is it something that the IRS feels they have under control? Because I know, especially the last couple of years, I started growing eBay, FBA more and more. Merch kind of came out of nowhere. So this is like the first year that, really been able to make some good money on. But I mean, how does the IRS see this internet sales stuff? I'm pretty sure it's kind of tough to keep track of what everybody's doing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and for this, it's kind of more of an opinion question. I can't, obviously, I don't work for them. I can't speak for them. But it's my understanding that we're going to gradually move to they want to tax sales on the internet.
Hmm.
And right now, it's kind of up to the local state, your local state and local laws to develop how they're going to tax it. I'm in Alabama, and they just recently passed a law that I think they're going to charge at least 9% sales tax on internet sales. So now if I go to Amazon and look at something, it's going to add 9% sales tax on
Ooh, that's scandalous.
it. So it's, that's kind of painful, but not every state has internet sales tax, but in the future, they're losing too much money not to capture that additional sales tax that the government could be using, and they could be using for all this. So I mean, eventually we're going to get there. They're going to tax. This is my personal prediction. Like I said, I don't have any inside information, but I would see that in the coming years, they're going to get taxed more heavily. Other states, and eventually, I personally think it will all get taxed at some point.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
only two things guaranteed in life is death and taxes. So
Exactly.
I've never heard that one before. I like it though.
Young.
death and taxes.
That was a good one. So okay. So I have another question for you, Justin. What are some good bookkeeping tips? Because I think I speak for almost all listeners. That is just something I hate doing. I hate collecting receipts. I hate scanning them, but I do it obviously for tax season. Do you have any good tips? Like, what is there any particular software that you recommend? I think most resellers use GoDaddy, but I mean, is there any pros and cons to other softwares, or just any tips that you can provide?
Right. Just do it. That's it. Just do it. So.
Sounds like a Nike commercial all of a sudden.
No, I'm sorry. So basically, it's all about consistency. You wanna stay consistent with how you're bookkeeping and how you're keeping up on your records. Keep your receipts. Like we're talking about all your different deductions and expenses you can write off. Well, it's good to have receipts, because if the IRS ever audits, or if they ever question it, well, here's my internet bill and here's my cell phone bill and all these different things, and it's just good to have those tangible things. It's called it's kind of like documentation or an audit trail. If you ever needed it, you would have it to physically prove it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, personally, I'm a little different. Like kind of like what you're saying. Like, I'm an accountant and I hate doing my own bookkeeping.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fun. I would rather be out sourcing and scanning and packing and shipping and labeling and doing all that stuff. And I do it for other people. I just hate doing it for myself.
Mm-hmm. Well, so I mean, then let me ask you this then. And this is something that I can never get an answer for, and I don't think it's that hard of a question. And I don't think this really pertains to merch. I think this is more for the FBA. But if I have a physical receipt, can I scan it, or at least take a picture of it, and then throw the hard copy away? Because I just hate having that hard receipt.
You don't want shoe boxes filling up.
No, man. So basically, can I have just a digital receipt?
It's so you're talking about using like a Neat, like something like that to scan it,
yeah,
a copy. Because that seems like the best way to do that. If you're going to keep digital, use some kind of scanner like that. Because if you took pictures, that'd probably be a lot of pictures.
Okay, but we can do that, right? So we can scan it and then throw the hard copy away. Yes.
Well, if you're having a digital copy of it, you have some documentation, some proof that you had it.
Okay.
From my understanding, that would be enough proof to show them. But again, I'd have to look at the tax laws for that. But I'm not sure if there's a clear answer on that. As far as record keeping, they recommend keeping your records back for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
So 7 years of shoe boxes of receipts. I see how that's not appealing.
Yeah, exactly. But and the reason I say that really pertains to like the reselling world, because normally, and Glenn, this, like when we buy fonts, that's all done through the computer, and we get digital receipts, so we can just we can save that as a PDF. So but yeah, so
yeah. So and you had also asked me about tax software and GoDaddy, and I've never used. I think you're talking about GoDaddy bookkeeping. Is that? I've never used that. I do most of my accounting and stuff like that on Excel spreadsheets, because that's just
okay.
I did that I did that in school, and that's kind of how I learned. That's how I keep track of it. But I've heard good things about QuickBooks. And it's really all about consistency.
Okay.
keeping up on it. Just don't let them stack up. Don't wait until the end of the year to go through all of your stuff, because that's just going to be
Yeah.
and if you want to save some money, here here's a tip for saving some money. Don't just give your accountant a shoebox full of receipts and say, okay, here you go, because they're going to charge you, $75-100 an hour. Well, that's just for their time. They don't care what they're doing for you.
Yeah.
So you can, if you keep everything organized, it's good for you. It's going to make their life easier. You're going to save some money when they're doing your taxes. But again, it's just not fun. But consistency really helps with that.
Okay. Glenn?
So I know this question, probably like, what is this guy's deal? When would the IRS feel the need to audit you? And as far as like online sales go, I mean, are they going to look at, Yong's, money he has coming in from merch, and they're like, I don't know,
Hey
this
man,
guy's kind of making.
don't use me as an example, okay? I'm not going to jail for you, buddy.
Don't report Yong now. That's not very nice.
They're like, you know what? I don't know. This guy is kind of banking it right now on merch, and
yeah, because he does make the big.
Have to audit this guy.
Yeah. So I don't work for the IRS, and I can't speak for them, but it's my understanding that it's random. Like statistically speaking, the IRS is gonna audit 1% or less of the country. But that that doesn't matter, because you don't want to lie, you don't want to commit fraud. The best protection against that is just keep receipts, keep good records. Don't try to commit fraud, because that that 7-year rule, if you're committing fraud, they can go back as far as they want.
Yeah,
So,
I think it is a little bit easier though. I guess what I do like about the internet sales is just that everything is a lot easier to keep track of. I mean, you know how much things sold for, how much money you got. All of that stuff is easily accessible going through your profile and your account just to see what you made. So I think it would be a little difficult to kind of, I guess, lie in that stuff in that case. Like, because all of that's already technically on record with Amazon or eBay or wherever, you're selling.
Right. And, it's my understanding that, once you pass a certain threshold on sales with Amazon, they're going to send your tax information to the IRS regardless.
Yeah.
So you want to be upfront, you want to be honest with how much you're making, because don't lie to them. It's not worth it. Because it's kind of like you're playing the audit lottery is what we say, because there's a very small chance you're going to get audited. But if you do, compared to you, they have unlimited resources. So you don't want to lie. Don't commit fraud. Keep everything on the up and up, and just be transparent. And you really don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I have to apologize. My internet was acting up. So for the people that's listening on the podcast, you probably lost the last 2 minutes of that. So whatever you just said, Justin, we lost it. But you know what? I'm not gonna make you repeat it. So just a apology from my end. But we'll keep going on here. So you talked about CPAs could be a write-off. So I mean, how do we go about finding the right CPA? Because I know some CPAs, I know when I found my CPA and I was shopping around, some people just had no knowledge about internet business. I mean, is it fair to say to just avoid people who has no experience with internet business?
Well, it's always good to do research, and when you're looking for a CPA or someone to do your accounting, it's fair to interview them. Ask them how long they've been in business, what do they specialize in. You can kind of talk to them about your business and see if they know what you're talking about. And if you don't feel like it's a good fit, there's plenty of them out there. You can search online, and if you know anyone in your area, that that's always good, because then if someone's nearby, you can drive over and see them or call them. And but that doesn't necessarily mean there's not good people out there in the country. because with our, like you're saying, with our online businesses, everything's online. If you find a good CPA in another state, they can log into your account, or you can send them your information direct from Amazon. And that doesn't necessarily mean they have to be right next door. It just kind of depends on if you feel like they're a good fit for you and good communication, and you feel like they would complement.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up, because I was always under the impression that it was always wise to hire a CPA locally. But I guess with the digital age these days, we can hire someone who's halfway across the world as long as they know what they're doing, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go halfway across the world, but I'm definitely.
Well, yeah, of course.
But yeah, I mean, it's just like anything else. Everything in our lives is moving to a digital world, a digital platform, and there's nothing wrong with hiring someone that's a state over, or if you're in California, if you know someone in New York or something like that, and you feel like they would be a good fit, there's no reason not to do it. Like I said, as long as you do your research and you can interview them or talk to them, because normally the CPAs will do an initial meeting or consulting for free with you. So because they want your business, they want to work with you, and it's always good to make sure it's going to be a good fit for you.
And just for the record, that is Glenn playing with his rubber duck. Okay.
I apologize. It's my dog and his squeaky toy. So
again, I repeat, that is Glenn playing with his rubber duck.
I'm sorry, Glenn. I tried to cover.
That's hilarious. All right, so let me put the rubber duck down and ask this last question. Should someone include their merch earnings in their taxes, even if they only sold like 1 to 10 shirts this year? Let's say they barely started out, not a whole lot of sales, kind of testing out the market, limited to 25 shirts, the first tier. Haven't really sold a whole lot.
Sure.
Do they still have to put that on?
Well, I mean, technically the answer is yes. You're doing sales. It doesn't matter if you're doing 1 or 25 or 100. I think we talked about this a little bit earlier. I'm not sure if it was cut out, but when you register with Amazon, you do have to provide them your tax information. If you're so they have that on file. So I think there's certain thresholds before they'll send that information to the IRS, but you should just do it anyways. And if you're just starting out, like you're talking about only having 25 shirts, I'm at that 25 tier, but I'm still going to report my earnings, because let's just hypothetically say I only sold 10 shirts. Well, that income is not really going to change my taxes that much.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just best to be full disclosure and give all that information, because you don't want to be caught lying.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. Obviously, I'm not an expert, but if it's anything like Kindle, as some of you guys may know, I dabbled with Kindle a little bit, and they send you. I can't remember what it's called, but they send you these they're like 1099s, but they're for royalties. And I know last year I got one, believe it or not, for 1 cent. My royalty was for 1 cent. So basically, I'm sure Amazon will send everyone a 1099 or something close to that, or something. Well, basically, you'll get some kind of a tax form, whether you sold 1 shirt, 2 shirt, or 3 shirt. Because if I got one for a penny, I'm sure you'll definitely get one for selling 1 shirt.
Right. So
that's from my own personal experience.
Yeah, you don't want to be caught lying to them, and it's just best to disclose it. Like you're saying, if you sold 10 shirts, if you made $50 or $30 or whatever, that's really not going to change your tax bracket. You're not going to have a huge tax liability on there, and so there's no reason not to disclose. So it's always best to be transparent.
Yeah, I think the eBay or PayPal one, I think it's like 10,000. Was that the one threshold you had to reach? I guess I'm like,
I
selling
think PayPal
10,000?
is 20,000.
Oh,
I
20?
believe PayPal is 20. I could be wrong, but um, PayPal is obviously for eBay though,
Yeah,
or other
websites or
businesses.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
So
don't know what for merch.
so then how about if you do like freelance work, Justin? So for instance, let's say Glenn hires me as to design shirts for him. Um, I send Glenn an invoice. How does that work? Then um, I mean, Glenn could obviously write my services off, but then what about me, someone who provided the service?
Right. So you're talking about if you were like an independent contractor, if you're doing it that way, is that what you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said, it's best to report that income at the end of the year. That even though you're not really reporting anything or creating anything tangible, you're still doing a design, you're still providing value, providing content. So there's a certain form you have to fill out and make sure you report that income, and he can write it off as as an expense hiring you. But and it kind of serves both purposes, that he's getting an expense out of it. Make sure you're keeping track of that kind of stuff, and you're claiming it as some sort of income, and so you're reporting that. So you just don't really want to be even if it seems kind of insignificant, it's just good to always be transparent and keep all those things in line and kind of record everything.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's all good information. So, Glenn, do you have any more questions?
I think that was it. I mean, my main thing, I think, when it comes to merch, I think what everyone's kind of probably, especially if they design their own stuff, is some type of, I guess, investment into their own business. I guess what they would do, since it's just totally different than FBA and eBay. The fact that we're not buying physical products, even like some of the stuff like boxes and tape and paper and all this stuff is, it's just, you don't need any of that. So it's just completely different in this case. I think that's probably the main thing, at least what I'm thinking about, is, tax breaks or what to, invest in and buy, because, I want to grow this business, but at the same time, I'm not out there finding stuff. I'm not out there going out and getting it.
Oh,
Right.
well then that sucks, because that's your damn slogan, man.
When it comes to that, as far as like merch goes,
Dude, you should be
I'm
out
not going
getting
out there
it every
getting it.
day. You just ruined your whole slogan.
Physical
Dude,
product.
you
Physical
just ruined your whole image. You're not. Think Hustler Hacks is not out getting it. Oh my goodness.
He's not getting physical products. As
You're
far as money goes, damn well I'm getting it.
you're not a go-getter. Come on, Glenn.
Okay, so I'll tell you some of the things that I personally do, and this is something that I've been writing off. So for me personally, I cannot work in my house because there's just too many distractions, right? I could be sitting here, and I can have like the football game on at the same time, and it's just, I might do one thing, designing a shirt, and then I get distracted, and then I start watching the football game. I can't do it. I can't design shirts here. So what I've been doing is I would go to. It sounds silly, but I'm just trying to get creative. I go to the local library where it's quiet. There's no distractions, and I keep track of my mileage. And in my opinion, I think I should be allowed to write those mileage off. Correct me if I'm wrong, Justin, because I am strictly just going to the library to do designs.
Well, I mean, it sounds like an ordinary and expense that you're doing. It seems reasonable, I guess. That's kind of what they look for, is a reasonable test.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to drive 100 miles to a library unless it's an amazing library, or it's really good out there in California. I don't know what the libraries are like. You have to tell me sometime.
That's funny.
But as far as mileage goes, a good tip for that is to keep a log. Just that way, and I think we talked about this too. You use an app Well, if that's
I do.
right, if that's your log, I mean, you're keeping a record somehow.
Mhm.
So if it was ever questioned, you can go, oh, well, here's my reasoning, here's what I did, and it's just another good thing to keep records, because I know you want to keep all those records everywhere.
Mhm. Yeah. And the app that I personally use is a Mile IQ, and I'll have a link for that in the show notes. So basically, it automatically senses movement when you're in the car, and when you're done when you're done with your trip, you can classify it by swiping left, which is personal, or swiping it right, which is business. And at the end of the year, you just print that out, present it to your CPA, and he'll make the deductions for you. But that's pretty much it for my tax questions, man. But let's talk some merch, man. So, Justin, I know you just started on merch not too long ago. Tell us, you're at what tier?
So I'm at the entry level, the true newbie status there. I have a 25 tier.
Mhm.
The weird thing was I never actually applied to get in. I had been doing FBA since I started kind of last year around this time, around the November, December timeframe. And I've just been doing that pretty heavy this year as my side hustle. And I remember reading about it in one of the Facebook groups. I don't know if it was you or Mr. Hustler Hacks over there, or somebody talking about merch. And I said, I got to check into this. And I went to the page, and where it says invitation, request invitation. And I clicked, and it asked for my Amazon info. And it goes, okay, you have 0 of 25 designs. Go ahead and upload.
That is weird. Wait, so when was this?
This was in October. I just clicked to get the invitation, and it just let me right in.
Wait, when you say October, this past October?
Yeah, this past October, just 2 months ago.
That is so strange. Oh wow. But you and I don't know if you want to share this story, and obviously I'm not going to ask you to tell us what niche or what shirt this it was, because that's none of our business. But you have a really cool story, right? You mind sharing that with us?
Sure. I started back in October with merch. Like I said, I've been doing FBA all year, and I have no design skill. I have I have zero creativity. I'm not I'm not educated like you guys in the graphic design arts. So you guys got me beat there. So I actually hired a friend that lives in another state. He's a graphic designer, and I said, hey, can you help me with this? And told him what I was looking for, and he said sure. And I gave him one idea, and he ran with it, and it was a great design. And I uploaded it to merch, and it was rejected 4 times because apparently you can't use trademark stuff. I don't know if you guys know that.
This guy.
but apparently that's a no-no. So, not to mention, the TV show that I had created this design for. So I uploaded it to Redbubble, and I've actually sold, I think, like 30 or 40 of them, but none on merch because it's not allowed there. So I went to my friend again, and I said, hey, I need some more designs, and here's what I'm looking for, and kind of gave him full creative, artistic ability on that. And he came back with some great designs. I think it was like 15 designs, and a couple of them were just way too specific to these niches that didn't really exist that I thought would take off, and they didn't. But I had a couple of video game kind of designs that did well, and selling 1 or 2, a day. I'm like, oh, this is cool. This could work. And one of my designs just kind of took off, and I started to sell between 5 and 10 a day.
Oh, nice.
Think about that. He's at the 25 tier, and he's selling just one shirt about 5 to 10 per day.
Yep. So I thought there was a glitch or something. I said, no, this doesn't make sense. And when Black Friday and Cyber Monday came around, I was doing around 10 a day. And right after Cyber Monday, I had sold 157 of this one shirt.
Dang, sounds like I have a new co-host.
Well, here we go. Here we go. Okay. But just for the record, Justin did show me the design. It was a very, as Glenn and I always talk about, it was a very simple design. It was not a Pokemon Go shirt, guys. Okay, so don't. Okay, I think Justin's pretty smart enough to know not to do something like that. But it was original, simple, and
Yeah.
yeah, and it worked for his particular niche, and it took off.
Yeah, it was a real basic design, just text and a couple small little symbols. And I give full credit to my friend that designed it, the way he made it. And I said to him, I said, hey, I said, this is really doing well. And he goes, yeah, he goes, that's just real easy. He goes, that's how I would do it. And I said, oh, okay. I said, I'm glad we worked well together. And the day after Cyber Monday, it was taken down by Amazon. They emailed me and said that the design, it had a 12,000 rank at that point, the day after Cyber Monday. And they emailed me and said that the design was in violation of policy, so they took it down. And I was like, wow, this is really weird. This never happened. I hadn't heard about this happening to anybody else. And then I looked in this niche, and there were, I think, 7 or 8 copycats of my exact design.
Pixel by pixel, correct?
Pixel by pixel, and they were still there up until about a week ago, because I started reporting them, and they finally got taken down.
So, would you say that a copycat came in and reported you, the person who originally created the shirt, reported you as being the copycat? Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of how I understand that it happened. Because like you were saying, it was an original design. It was not infringing on anything. And why would it make sense that my design would be taken down, but 7 others exactly the same would still be up? So
that just completely sucks.
That was terrible.
That completely
so
sucks.
how did you get out of that then? Like, what happened next, I guess?
Yeah, I emailed Merch. I tried to call them, which I'm sure you guys know, they actually don't have a phone department for Merch. They won't connect you, which is so strange. So I emailed them, and they said email our copyright department. So I also filled out a copyright infringement form, and I found a really good template in one of the Facebook groups. And I used that and said, this was the date that my design was uploaded. These ones have appeared after. Here are the ASINs. I feel like this is infringing on my work. Blah blah blah. And it took about, I want to say 3-4 weeks, but they're finally down. But at this point, I've pretty much lost that whole opportunity, because as you guys know, we can't upload anything at the moment. I can't re-upload my design anyways, and I've pretty much lost that whole all those sales for the past few weeks.
Yeah. Again, it's just that's just very unfortunate, because we talked about this briefly a couple of times now. There are people just doing some shady stuff out there just to get ahead of the game, and it's really unfortunate. And it just ruins it for everyone. Justin had an original shirt. Again, he showed me the shirt. There was no, at least in my opinion, there was no copyright infringement. And it took off for him. Someone else came in, copied his shirt pixel by pixel, and reported him as being a copycat. And again, is Amazon gonna fix all that? I don't know. Again, we don't have the answers, but I certainly hope they will. But I guess that's why it's always good to keep track of like when we uploaded our shirts to, which you can look up in your dashboard. I don't know if you guys knew that or not. I think if you go into manage, it'll tell you like the exact date that you uploaded your design. So maybe that's something. So maybe that's something that we should all start taking a screenshot of, in case something like that does happen to us. Fortunately, knock on wood, it hasn't happened to me yet, but it just really sucks.
And the good thing too is to also save the email that they send you once it's been approved, or your design is live. It's always good to save that email, so you can always have that as proof with the date and time and everything.
Yeah. Good idea. Well, hey, Justin, thank you so much for being here, man. It was a pleasure talking to you, man, and hopefully we'll get a chance to hang out again here in the near future. Glenn, dude, I'm telling you, man, we got to go out to Nashville.
And we do have to go out to Nashville.
I was line dancing like a mother, man. I'm telling you.
I thought you were just getting a whole bunch of tax info. I don't know about all these cocktails and stuff like that. I mean, what is going on?
Dude,
No, from what I remember, it was a lot of fun. We had a great time. So.
Yeah. Nah, man, it wasn't out of control. No, it was. Again, I was there mostly for my day job, and I had the weekend and met up with Justin, and we hung out for a day. So, but Justin, again, thank you. If again, I can't say this enough. Justin's here just to give general advice. If you guys want specifics, go see your own CPA. But Justin, I don't know if you're willing, but if people do have general questions, would you be willing to answer some questions?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be willing to help out. Like I said, I have a master's in accounting. I'm studying for my CPA. I don't have it yet. It's a difficult test to pass, and that's just that's how I want it because I want to make sure people are really disciplined to get it. So so like you were saying, this is just general tax advice. None of this advice was meant to evade taxes in any way, shape, or form. We're just trying to help you with some good practices and some good things to keep
exactly. Up. But if you guys do have just general questions, again, no specifics. If you guys want to reach out to Justin, maybe email me. I don't want to give out his email address to everyone. Contact me or Glenn, and then we'll figure something out on how you can contact Justin. And this is just applicable. This is just applicable to U.S. residents. Okay, so if you're in the UK, obviously you guys have your own tax laws and whatnot. So, but thanks again, Justin. And guys, we say this every episode. Last time we checked, we were getting about 1,000 downloads per episode, which I would have never imagined. So we have listeners, okay? And in order for Glenn and I to do this every week, we want to know that you guys appreciate what we do, and we really want feedback, okay? I think it takes 2 minutes out of your day to just go to iTunes, look up our podcast, and leave us a review. Again, if you don't have to like us, if you're doing something wrong, if we could do something better, let us know. That's the only way we can improve. Other than that, Glenn, you have any closing comments?
That is pretty much it. Just want to thank Justin again for coming out and answering these questions for us, because tax time can be a little stressful.
Yeah,
that's right. All right, guys. See you next week.